Yep. Ready and willing. That's correct. And that's a dangerous thing to do is to let any lawyer talk. So hi everyone, my name is Tom Walrath. I live in Wellsbor, Pennsylvania, a very small town in the north central Pennsylvania area. It's not near any town you've ever heard unless you've been to Corning, New York. We're about half an hour south of Corning, New York. We're home of the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. I was born and raised here, and my father was a lawyer, and we had a very nice life in a very small town. My town is a county seat, which is a big plus if you want to be a lawyer, because that's where the courthouse is. But my county is very small. My county has 50,000 people in it. And my town is small, it has 4,000 people. But my town is the largest town in a 60-mile radius. And that's how I grew up. I grew up knowing everyone in my town. Everyone knew me. Everyone knew my dad. I have six sisters. Everyone knew my family. It was rather a fun childhood, I'll say. Anyway, I wanted to be a lawyer because my dad was a lawyer. My dad was a really good guy. He's the best guy I ever knew. And he never told us what to do. He just let us watch him, and he kind of knew what he was doing was right. So he was a lawyer. He was a good lawyer. He was. The practice of law is a strange thing. If you're in it for money, good luck. Go live in a city and go chase money. But if you're in it for the law or for justice and want to help people, you have to be willing to make some sacrifices. So I didn't want to be rich and I didn't want to be a big city slicker. I wanted to come back and do what my dad did, which was basically help people. So that's what I did. I went to the University of Notre Dame for undergrad. I'm very proud of that. Go Irish. And then after 4 years of that, I went to law school. And I graduated from the Dickinson School of Law out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And after that, I immediately moved home and started practicing law with my dad and his partner, Lowell Coolidge, and my sister, Priscilla, who's also working in the office. Sure. No, it is. Yes, my father was a World War II vet. My father was in the Battle of the Bulge. My father was in the Ardennes. He was at the Bridge of Remagen. He got out of the war, a private first class. He never talked about the war, but if you settled him down and asked him questions, he did respond to questions, but he never brought it up on his own. Uh, if you've ever seen the movie Save It Private Ryan, that's probably the most accurate depiction of what war is like. Anyway, why did they go to Notre Dame? So I was raised Catholic. I'm sorry, Barb, I can't hear you well. No, I didn't know that. Hmm. Hmm. Good, because I thought we were going to talk about the practice of law today, Barbara. All right. So let me answer Barb's question. Why did I go to Notre Dame? I'm a Catholic kid, and every when I was grew up, every Sunday morning after mass, she came home and watched the replay of the Notre Dame game. Somehow they had a replay of the Notre Dame game the day before, and it was advanced. They didn't show in between huddles. They just play it. So it was interesting. I didn't know where Notre Dame was when I applied for it. I found out it's in Indiana. I didn't know where Indiana was when I applied for it. So I had to look it up on a map. It's a long way away from Wellsboro, about 10 or 11 hours in a car. But I went out and saw it, and it was beautiful. I wasn't a real big Notre Dame fan, but it just seemed to be a very nice place. Had a lot of meaning to it, a lot of importance. So I went there, and I'm really glad I did because I met Barbara's sister, Karen Pretzel, my freshman year, and we were lifelong friends thereafter. And so listen, let me just get to the law part. So I went to law school and I became a lawyer. I came back and I was doing a lot of public defender stuff. When you live in a small town, you have to do all kinds of law. So I did wills, divorces, real estate, criminal law, family law, everything under the sun. The only thing I didn't do was bankruptcies, and I didn't do much civil work, which is suing people. Unless they were sued, I would defend them. So when I first started, I was working on my own out of my dad's office, and I did that for, gosh, 10 years. And then I applied for the public defender job, and it was actually a juvenile defense plus family service law. So uh, I don't know if you're aware, but there's indigent families who are in need of services. If their children need to be taken from them, there's a process called well, I don't know what's called where you live, but here it's called Children and Youth Services in Pennsylvania. And I represented indigent families for over 26 years when they had their kids taken away because they were either drug addicts or uh, beating their kids or doing horrible things. I represented the parents. Uh, at the same time, I was doing all the juvenile defense work. In Pennsylvania, every child is presumed to be indigent, and therefore each child is given a free lawyer. Well, in my county, Tioga County, Pennsylvania, I was it. And I also did this for the next county over, Potter County. So I was a juvenile defender and the children's law parents attorney for well over, gosh, from 93 until, I don't know, what's that, 30 years? 32 years? 40 years? I don't know. Figure it out. Do the math. So anyway, uh, I'll tell you what's important about being a juvenile attorney. In juvenile law, you can make a big difference. In juvenile law, if you sit down and talk with a kid and explain to them the ways of the world in the right fashion, you can change them so that they never get back into the system. The first thing I tell every kid that comes in to see me, I say, pay attention because I'm going to tell you something. And the first thing I tell them is the criminal justice system sucks. It's a bad system. You don't want to be in the criminal justice system. You want to get out of it. You're almost in. You have a way to get out. If you pay attention to me, I'll keep you out of the criminal justice system. And you explain to kids about all the collateral consequences of an adjudication of delinquency. You explain to them that if they get a criminal record, they may not hold a civil service job, they may not get into college, won't get into the military, won't be able to apply for any job that needs certification. Uh, a lot of important consequences the kids don't realize happen when they decide to break into their neighbor's abandoned barn, and it turns out it's not abandoned at all. It's full of fun stuff that they'd love to take. In the civil section of the law, they have something called attractive nuisance, which is why you have to put a fence around your pool, or put up no trespassing signs, or put a fence around your property. Because for kids, seeing an old barn or an old house sitting out in the middle of nowhere, that's kind of fun. I'd like to go see what's in there. I wonder what's in that old farmhouse. There's no one here. It's obviously abandoned. Let's go see. And juveniles are very prone to peer pressure. So they all say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's all go in there. And next thing you know, they're all charged with criminal trespass, felony burglary, all kinds of nonsense. Luckily, the law in Pennsylvania treats juveniles much differently from the way adults are handled. And it's important to know this because the Pennsylvania criminal justice system about 20, 30 years ago came around to this idea that juvenile law is a separate practice from criminal law. That juvenile law, because of the limitations of the juvenile brain development, juveniles should be treated differently. And most district attorneys see a juvenile as it's just a mini criminal. Oh, this is a tiny bad guy. Let's throw him in jail. And the juvenile justice system says, no. Kids are different. Kids think differently. Male brains don't fully develop until they're 25. Female brains fully develop sometime around 17 or 18. But males, 24, 25. So it's an important distinction to remember that juveniles are not just mini adults. So I really enjoy practicing juvenile law. I was a public defender, I think I said, for a couple years. And in doing so, I joined the Pennsylvania Public Defenders Association and the Criminal Defense Law Association. And twice a year, they have little meetings down in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, because that's the capital of Pennsylvania. It's about 3 hours away from me. I drive down there and attend seminars which update you on the latest thing. You get continuing legal education credits and blah, blah, blah. The reason I'm telling this story is because about 20 years ago, I was at one of these little meetings and I saw an old law school friend, Ron Turo from Harrisburg, and he was with a gentleman from Philadelphia named Bob Eggleston, and a guy from Jersey named Elton Anglada. And they were saying, we really need to start a juvenile defense association. All the defense in Pennsylvania should become uniform, and we should have standard practices. I said, yeah, we should, because what you guys are doing in the city is totally different from what we're doing out in the country. They said, yeah, that's what we're talking about. They said, we're going to form this organization. We want you to be on the board. I said, okay, I'd be happy to do it. So we formed the Juvenile Defense, JDAP, Juvenile Defense Attorneys of Pennsylvania. And it's statewide. It's free to join. We run seminars three times a year. We take part in the Juvenile Justice, the Juvenile Judges Quorum every November. The juvenile judges have a big educational thing in Harrisburg, and we're a part of it. JDAP is a part of it, and we go down and we learn all the new things that happen in new developments of law. So I'll just tell you one, I think, interesting part of the aspect of my career as a juvenile attorney. A long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, there was a gap. All of a sudden, the Supreme Court said, wait a second, we agree. Juvenile brains are different. And because of that, it would be inhumane. It would be unconstitutionally inhumane to sentence a juvenile to life imprisonment for anything, including murder, because the juvenile's brain has not been developed. And to sentence them to life without the possibility of parole is just wrong. I was shocked that the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania came out with this, but then several Supreme Courts around the countries came out with it, and then the United States Supreme Court indeed came out with the exact process. So at that point, there were a whole bunch of juveniles in Pennsylvania who had been sentenced to life for murder. And in my county, we had 2 that were serving life imprisonment for murder. And they said, you file this motion and you get in front of a judge and you have a proper hearing, and your child may become eligible for parole and indeed may be paroled out if they've served enough time. So at the seminars I went to, everyone's talking about what you have to do. I'm saying, I filed the motion. I'm having a hearing next month. I'm pretty sure my 2 kids are going to get out. And by kids, the one individual went in when he was, I think, 14 or 15, and he had served 46 years. He was 60 something. And the other one had done 38, 39 years. Anyway, I filed the motion just a happenstance at the time. Our regular judge had retired. We were waiting for a new judge, so we had the judge from the next county come over. He was a very kind man, a very kind-hearted man, and was very sympathetic to the idea of kids. We also had a brand new DA. I ran for DA against her. She won. So she had been a DA for a year, and I had been doing juvenile law for 20 years. And I had all the law and everything, and it's rather shocking to think that somebody can sit from the age of 14 to the age of 60, 66, 40 some years on, 50 some years on a crime they committed when their brain wasn't really fully developed. So, to make a long story short, too late, already embellished that. To make a long story short, both of my juveniles got out, and they write me cards, and they send me messages every now and then saying thank you. A lot of times, if you do your job right in the juvenile law, you keep the juveniles out of the system. And in my town, like I say, we're a very small community. In my town, you see them later in life, and they say, "Hey, Mr. Walrath, thank you. You were right." And then on the other side, the kids that don't listen and they end up in jail, they also say, "Hey, Tom, I should have listened to you. Sorry." I said, "It's okay. It's your life." It's very, very tough. So in my career, in my juvenile career, I had several murder cases. But I'll tell you, I'll just talk about the one case that I had that was important to me. I don't know if anyone's listening still. I'm recording this, and she's going to edit most of this out probably. But a long time ago, maybe 25 years ago, 20 years ago anyway, we had a sad case up in Tioga, which is in the northern part of our county, in which a young man was being bullied on the basketball court on a regular basis. And one day he went and got his uncle's pistol. He took that down to the basketball court with him. And when these bullies started bullying him again, unfortunately, he pulled out the gun and said, "Get away from me." And unfortunately, this child was mixed race, and they were using the N-word on him. And they were saying, "What the hell are you going to do?" And this kid backed up the entire length of the basketball court. And then another kid got around behind him and grabbed him. And when he grabbed him, the gun went off. When the kid in front of him fell, he was dead. His friend who was behind him got really angry and stormed this kid in front, and he shot again, and that kid was dead. Children don't realize that real guns kill. And they also don't realize that when you die, you're dead forever. They think you press I'll just reset this and everything will be all right. Let's just have a new game. And it doesn't work that way. So this child, I think he was 14 or 15 at the time. I think he was 14 at the time. He was charged with double murder. So with my case, I had to put a defense on. And the juvenile system is a little bit different from an adult system. They had to have a case called a prima facie evidence case to determine whether or not the case should go to full trial. And then they direct filed this up to adult court because capital murder is treated as an adult. So I filed a motion to decertify back to juvenile court, and then we had the hearing. In the hearing, as to what happened, whether the child had any defense or not, I was getting ready for the case, and I got a call. I got a call from a gentleman out in the Midwest. And he said, I saw you're representing this kid, and it sounds to me like he's getting railroaded. I said, well, he's kind of getting railroaded. He said, how many blacks are there in your community? I said, there are none. In my county, Tioga County, there might be 100 blacks. Certainly at the time, there were less than 100 out of 50,000 people. In any case, he said, I want to help you all I can. How much can I send you money? Can I do? I said, no, I can't accept money. I'm the public defender. I'm getting paid by the county. It wasn't a lot, but you can't accept money. So I said, no. He said, how else can I help you? I said, well, I could use someone who could make a scale drawing, or somebody who could give me a good representation of the scene of the crime, so I can show the court exactly what happened, how far this kid went, and this, that, and the other. He said, okay. The next week, he sent two architects out to my town, and we drove up to the scene of this crime, this playground, and they took measurements and pictures and everything. And 2 weeks later, they had a scale model of this playground. A perfect scale model of this playground that was maybe on a thing maybe it was 3 feet by 3 feet, 3 feet by 3 feet, all with just like an architect's thing. The building here, and here's the playground, here's the basketball court, here's shrubbery. It was really well done. The only reason I say that is during the whole entire course of this trial we had, it was several days and many witnesses. During the whole course of this, showing this and referring to this diagram over and over again, nobody ever asked me how I got that. They never said, hey, that's a pretty nice scale model of the Tioga school playground there. Who made that? Did you make that at home with some popsicle sticks? I said, nobody ever asked. I mean, it must have cost a couple $1,000s to make the darn thing. Nobody even inquired. Anyway, we got through the whole thing. The judge decided there's prima facie case, even though these kids admitted, oh, yes, I grabbed him from behind. Yes, that's when the gun went off. Yes, this other kid was charging him. Yes, he only fired once. And yes, he ran away after that. And yes, he wasn't able to run away the first time the gun went off. You have to have if you're doing self-defense, you have to run before you can shoot. But the kid couldn't run because he was grabbed from behind. Anyway, I won't get into. Anyway, the judge got into this thing. We got all done with it, and it was pretty clear that this kid was being bullied. And anyway, the whole proceeding's done, and we go back. The judge says, I want to see district attorney and counsel in my chambers. I said, all right. So we go in there. I said, well, and I had done some murder trials before this. I said, well, I guess we're going to do another murder trial. And the judge said, not necessarily. I said, oh. What does anyone propose? Well, the district attorney said, well, we might take a plea to involuntary on one and involuntary manslaughter on the other, and we might be willing to accept 10 years on the one and 5 years on the other. Which is not bad when you have double homicide and you could serve 2 terms of life without parole, to be offered 15 years. when you're 14 years age at the time. So we talked it over. His mother was a crack addict, unfortunately, and she wasn't much help. But his other relatives were pretty good. Anyway, he did his 14-year. I think he did 13 and a half years and got out. So I think it did some good there. Anyway, I still practice criminal law now as for juveniles. I have all the juveniles for Tioga County and all the juveniles for Potter County. I still like doing it. It does not involve too much time. I'm in court maybe 4 or 5 days a month, doing hearings on reviews. I find it fascinating that kids are all the same, pretty much, unless you see someone who's really a sociopath. Most kids are exactly the same. Uh, and they all come in with a chip on their shoulder, usually, or some problem, or some trauma in their life that has affected their behavior. If you get to the root of these things, if you get to the underlying cause as to what's going on, uh, you can help. You can really help these kids a lot. So that's why I do this. And I find it fascinating. I find it a benefit. And I've had a lot of parents appreciate what I do. Some don't. Each year I handle maybe 60, 70 cases in the one county and 20 or 30 in the other. So maybe a total of 100 cases a year. The thing with juvenile law is once you're adjudicated or once you're on what's called a consent decree, there's reviews every 3 months, and most kids are kept on probation for a couple of years. So if you have 100 cases one year, most of them count on, and the next year you get another 100. So every year you're usually going about maybe 100, 150 cases. But that's a whole lot better than when I was doing all kinds of law. I was doing adult conflict cases, all those family service cases, some cases to make money so I could survive, and pay a secretary and all that stuff. Now I work out of my house. This is my playroom, and I find it quite fulfilling, to be honest with you. I like doing it, so I'll keep doing it. I'm still on the JDAP board, Juvenile Defenders Association of Pennsylvania board. I think we're in our 20th year, and we're planning seminars, and we do continuing legal education to make the practice across Pennsylvania uniform. Pennsylvania, I don't know if you're aware of this, is the only state in the country which does not pay for its uh, public defenders, does not pay for its public defender work. Each county is responsible for that payment. Most other states, the salary is relegated by law. Like the district attorney in the Commonwealth is paid by the state, but the public defenders aren't. So that makes for a lot of different payment schedules throughout the state and a lot of different treatment and different practices. And we're trying to make things uniform so that if you go into Philadelphia, you get the same procedure as you get in Wellsbor. Okay? I don't know if Barb is still listening. She probably hung up an hour ago. Barb, you okay? Can you hear me? I've now talked for 29 minutes. Do you want me to keep talking? Because I will. Be careful. I don't think she's. Did I finally get you off of mute? What's that? Did I get you off of mute? Oh, don't tell me I was on mute. No. So I didn't interrupt you. And I think I got us recording on Zoom. So I think if you want to keep talking, join the Zoom call, and I think, well, I'm recording my field, but I think you'll record on there. Okay. I haven't figured out how to record my field, but I did get us started on Zoom, so. Oh, I just lost you. Okay. Uh, Unless there's any questions, I think that's all I'm going to talk about. Huh. Barb?
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. Barb?
All right, I'm going to try again. Hmm. Stop taking the video and see if I can transfer this.